Hello everyone, and welcome to Speakers Bank Valid Presentation. I'm Tom from Victoria Union University, and today I have three members of Speakers Bank: Tom Robbins, Nathan Slachter, and Brent Alford.
Hey guys.
Hello
everyone.
Hello. Can you briefly introduce yourself, guys? We may start from Storm.
My name is Storm. I'm 31 and I've been with Speakers Bank for a pretty long time at the moment. I specialize in motivational speaking, disability advocacy, and I do some podcasting with Anecto as well. And I like anime and I like sports. Over to you, Nathan.
Hi, my name is Nathan. I represent Speakers Bank as well as an advocate. I also, along with Storm and Catherine, work on the podcast. And in my spare time, you'll find me on the couch.
Okay. And Brent, how are you, Brent?
G'day, guys. I've been with Speakers Bank since 2011 when I started my motivational speaking career. And 10 years later, I've done probably over 600 talks, so doing pretty good things there. During COVID, it sort of become my problem, and I had to become an athlete because of COVID. And last year, I did 7 talks, usually 55 a year. But Anecto has really helped me sort of get into the whole talking game and becoming better and more confident. And today I'm quite fit with physical fitness, and that's my love. And hopefully one day I can go back to speaking. I think I've got a pretty good story. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. That was a great introduction. So the topic of this panel discussion is best friends, who they are and why they matter. And the first question is, how do you define best friend?
For me, a best friend is someone that you can share your deepest, darkest secrets with without repercussions. So you can talk to them about anything and they will be on your corner any day of the week, whether it's Monday, Friday, or the weekend. And that's what defines a best friend. But there's so many other layers to it. Whether they can be with you in good times and bad times. They can talk about different issues that are affecting their mental health, or they could be talking about subjects that you are interested in and you're interested in as well. So it's about keeping the person that your best friend is on the right track as well. So for example, they're in a bad situation, they don't see it from two sides, they only see it straight on. It's your job as that friend to keep them on the straight and narrow. Whether that could be relationship advice, whether it could be personal issues that's going on in their lives, sometimes they don't see it, and then you can just point out their advice, and it's up to them to take it, but they know that a best friend always has your best interest at heart. So that's what, to me, defines what is a best friend.
And so, Tom, do you have many best friends?
Two.
And how are they fall into those categories of similar interests or very supportive?
Yes, they've got similar interests. They're very supportive. I'm a big believer that you don't need 10, 20 best friends. You only need a small amount. Because at the end of the day, when things are like in really, really big trouble, like you've had a bad accident or you've had a really life-threatening situation, that's when you find out who your best friends are.
True. I know, how are you with friends? Pretty good, or?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
No, sorry, Storm, I asked Nathan.
Oh, Nathan, yep.
That's all right. At least I know Storm can speak for me when I can't. In terms of me, I think over the years, especially through primary school, I was really into the whole best friend thing. But as I got into adulthood, what I kind of realized was that I wanted to kind of focus in on, one core person that I could kind of rely on or go to. And I noticed that, since being married, it's also a great reflection of what it means to really have that one person that you can confide in with everything. And I noticed that everything that I've learned about best friends over the years has kind of culminated into, teaching me a lot of life lessons. And how to share your life with other people.
So your best friend's the person you're married, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How about you, Brent?
Haven't found that person yet, but yeah, still looking.
It'll happen at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll come eventually. Hopefully.
Patience, mate,
But
patience.
with friends, let's go to friends. But at the moment, I've still got like a pretty good friend and like one person who supports me through everything. But friends are very important. Sorry, Tom, you got your next question?
No.
That's Tom's work.
If you don't mind, I do have. Sorry, Tom. I just had a question for Brent. When you had, if you don't mind me asking, when you had your accident, did you find out very, very quickly who your real friends were? Did you find that a lot of people left you?
All the people I thought were my friends disappeared. Like they came to visit me in hospital apparently when I was in a coma. But then when I woke up, they chose not to be part of my life. And then I had to make a whole lot of new friends. But I'll talk a bit about that later. But thank you, Nate.
Yeah.
So maybe next question to Brent.
Yes.
How friendship has affected your journey?
Okay. So in my life, after my accident, I had become friends with a lot of people because I didn't have the right friends before in my life. So all my friends before were people I partied with, drank with, took drugs with, and just being a little bit, making bad choices. That's how I had my accident in the end. So fell off a balcony and in a coma for 8 weeks. When I woke up, all the people that came to visit me were friends that I worked with, and I thought they were friends, but those people I worked with, and I didn't really have a clear understanding what friends were. But then I went through probably a 6-month period in my life, and it was like grief of losing my life. And in that grieving period, I realized I had no friends and had to make new friends. And then I sort of worked out that during my rehab to get better, it was all about putting myself around people that could get me there. So therapists. So in my eyes, the therapists were my friends. But like in the therapist's eyes, I was their client, obviously. And I sort of understood that. So I wanted to put myself around people that could get me into a better position physically and mentally. And I did that for about 10 years. And I really got to a point where I was happy where I wasn't. No, I thought I'd be perfect, but I wasn't quite there. And obviously having a brain injury, I find that it's going to be a lifelong battle. And so I put myself around those sort of people, therapists and physios and all those sorts of things. And after 10 years, I figured that I wanted a girlfriend. So I got a girlfriend and did that whole thing. And that was the love side of things and the support there. But today, I'm very happy where I am physically. And mentally, I'm sort of over that part of it as well. So I think I'm over my injury type thing. So I don't need therapists as much, even though I've still got my NDC plan, but they're more just therapists. And today I've got actually people that are friends and obviously good friends and people that need to support me in my journey and every which way I go. And Storm's right, they've got to be similar interests. And one of my good friends was before my accident and even now, he takes me overseas most years when we could, and like we went to amazing places like New York and Las Vegas, and that's a friend who's been there right from the beginning, and he's that solid friend that I have. So friends are very important, I think. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. So, would you say the friendship has a positive impact on your mental health in general?
yeah, most definitely. Like having those sort of people around you that can sort of know when you're doing it tough, like help you out, support you, and sort of get you back on track. And I'm very much a goal-oriented person, so I like to set myself up with plans, and I put myself still around people that will take me to those places. So yeah, my friends are very positive and out there like I am, and I like to be out there. And when I say out there, I mean really positive. So I turn any negative into a positive. There's nothing bad happening to me. I reframe it in my mind to be a positive, and I try and be that person and be really focused on being happy. And life is all about being happy, and I think I am happy today with the friends that I need to be around me, or the people that I've chose to be around, which now become friends, even though the one close friend has been there for over 20 years. So yeah, I think friends are very important.
I think that there's a clear discussion between friends and acquaintances. So when I look at friendship, it's sort of like your inner circle is like your 2 to 3 friends, and then you got that outer circle that could be like your 5 to 6, 10 different friends that you meet up with on a regular basis, but they're not like your closest friends.
Right, so we say that, like, I sort of put that down to you've got your close friends, and then you got your Facebook friends, people you know, and you may have spent like a week with on camp or whatever, but they're just people you know, and they're like up to 200-300 people that you just know, and I don't see them as close friends.
We are having discussion about the best friends, about those real best friends, this small group of people who are really close. You are really close to.
And Stormer's right, it's very small, like maybe 1 or 2, and they're the people that you can just rely on for everything. You can call them up whenever you need to. We'll call it, have a bitch about something, and it's all good.
Absolutely.
Question to everyone: do you think psychologist or mental health professional can be a substitute for a friend?
Well, when I go back to my first 10 years, I think it's really how you look at it. Like all my therapists or personal trainers, to me, to them, I was a client, right? But to me, they were a friend, and they were a person that where I wanted to head and get stronger in that area. So I had to use them as a friend, then I'd have a laugh with them and focus on all my constant rehab stuff. But to me, yeah, they were a friend, but to them, looking at me, I was their client, and it's just different ways of looking at things. I think they can be friends. Maybe not close friends, but they can be friends. More than acquaintances. So acquaintances are just people that you know of, and you don't really have heaps of conversations with. You just know them for whatever reason. But then friends, I think therapists can be friends. Psychologists can be friends. Because a psychologist knows everything about you, and that's what they're there for, to talk about life's problems. And in your eyes, that you could have told them your whole life, and they're bettering the way you think about things. So you can probably think that they're a friend, but then from their point of view, you're just a client. And as long as you understand the difference, I think anyone can be friends with who they are.
I think Brett hit the nail on the head there. You need to know the difference between friendship and client, and not cross the line of romance between the psychologist and the client.
No, but like I sort of disagree a little bit. Like, yeah, you got to understand that romance is on a different level. But like, you can think they're friends, right? But they can think you're still a client, and as long as you understand the difference there, I think that's fine. And the whole romance thing, that's next level wrong. Like, you can't get romantic involved with any therapist.
I think there's a lot of people in the population that have trouble defining what they consider as a romance type friendship between a friendship when it comes to like that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to help the viewers that you've got to be very clear on what they are there for.
I think regardless of client perspective though, there is an element that you've got to look at, and I think when it comes to defining best friends, you've got to be able to say, well, would that person hang out with me if it wasn't for the fact that they're getting something out of it? Because you got to understand the variable in this situation is that you pay a psychologist or a psychiatrist a lot of money to sit with you for 45 minutes. Like, they make hundreds of dollars, and as much as, you know, you can, I agree that you can kind of build that bond. At the end of the day, the one thing it comes down to is the way you know that you've got a friend is to go, well, would they hang out with me if they didn't get anything out of it?
Yeah, but one thing I disagree a little bit on that, Nathan, because like we always say, to my first 10 years of getting clean, like I would spend time with these people, like personal trainer, and the amount of laughing I had with this personal trainer, even though it's bringing strength and my rehab was out of control, good, but like the amount of laughing I was happening was crazy. And and the thing is, I knew that I was paying him money for him to give me his training, and my laughing with him was just that added friendship there. And we didn't hang out ever on the weekends or anything like that. But the thing, my friendship for him was there, and I knew I was paying him, but like I knew that there as well. But like I still saw him as a friend because the amount of laughing that we had together about different stuff. And that's why I said the friendship. So I sort of disagree a little bit there, because in that 10-year period, my therapists were my friends. I knew that, and I knew I was paying them to get more out of what I wanted to do. But I said I knew the difference.
It is interesting relationship between the psychologist and the client, because it's a part of psychologist's job to create the bond, but with the client, but at the same time they also have to keep professional boundaries.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's about the balance.
Very difficult sometimes, because sometimes you want to say something that's really rude, but you can't really say it. Sometimes you want to say what you really want to say, but you know, the psychology thing in your head saying, no, I have to be professional and I have to say psychology things.
But in that right, like in that regard, there, Tom, like I think to have a good psychologist, you gotta have a great bond with the psychologist and get along with them and feel you can open up, right? And that's fine. But then you open up and tell this person everything, yeah. But then in your mind, right, if you can sort of settle with, okay, I feel friendlier with this person, and I can open up to this person, and yeah, I understand psychologists look at you and saying, fine, but isn't it about what you think? Like, it's all about what I'm thinking, not what they're thinking, and if they're bettering you in your thought processes in what they're doing, well, that's great, but then if that bond is strong, in my eyes, I'm friendly with it, and in their eyes, they're not.
Yeah.
You know the difference that you find. And so, like, I think for 10 years of my life, like, they were my friends, and I didn't have friends. When I woke up from accident, people came in to see me to work with them, but they weren't my friends, they just people that knew me. They were acquaintances, like Storm was saying. And I totally understood that for 5-year period. I had no friends that wanted to, I felt like I had no friends that wanted to be around me. And I was paying people money to do things for me, but like, in my eyes, they were my friends, and for me to get better in that period of my life, I had to be around those sort of role models in my life. And I was paying them, but like that's just what it is. It's all and if I'm happy with that, like I feel it should be fine. I think it's a mental thing.
Yeah, and I think, like we said earlier, we're going to be really, really, really careful as well when it comes to that fine line, because as much as like, and I agree with you in a sense, because sometimes it is about like how you see things, but there are people out there also with genuine, you know, mental illnesses and things that actually can't, you know, define where the line is. Like I don't know if you've seen, because I watch a lot of true crime shows, and there are people that literally can't define or categorize their relationships, and they will cross certain lines that aren't, like, I guess
acceptable,
say, ethical.
Yeah, I hear you. But then also, Nate also explain my thoughts on friendship and where I'm coming from, how I look at it, and I think I get there could be people that they can't decipher the two different things. but I can, so yeah.
Yeah, of course. And that's where I think it's very like case by case basis. So I don't think that someone should read this and go, oh, well, okay, because Brent can do it, I can do it too. I think it's very much like if you can handle that, that's great. Yeah.
But it still comes with a warning, so that's why we want
Yeah,
to warn
exactly.
I have a next question for everyone. Why friendship is challenging for many people with disabilities?
It's more acceptance, I think. More other people accepting your disability and what it is. And then for me, that sort of thing, yeah, that's what my disability is. So, do you want to be friends with a person like that? And it just comes down to acceptance of everyone's each and their disability. I can't really say it. Nate, you talk to me. What do you thought?
Sorry, so
Nathan, what would you say about friendship? Is friendship challenging?
sure. Yeah, I would say, especially from what I've seen in my own life, and I don't know if you guys have experienced a lot of this, but I find that especially back when I was in primary school and high school, kids and adults generally don't like anyone that doesn't fit a mold of what they consider to be normal. So if you, don't have two good legs or you have a funny arm, you can sometimes be treated as different. I was very lucky in primary school that I didn't cop that from the kids back then, but I noticed that as I got older and as I got into high school, I started to notice that kids would literally like talk to me like I was mentally slow. So I do think that as much as society is trying to embrace disability, there's very much a stigma of, okay, there's an unspoken, what am I trying to say? There's an unwritten rule that almost says, well, if you don't fit a certain mold, you're not considered to be normal, which I think is wrong.
Totally agree with you, Nate.
I'm going to go a bit deeper and say that it's on an educational level and it starts with the parents. If the parents expose the child to disability at an early age, then we wouldn't have to go through all this horrible experiences trying to get friends. Because I feel like when you haven't seen something or you haven't exposed to something, the first thing you're going to think of is self-defense. And as human beings, when we think about self-defense, we think about protecting ourselves and we use words as our self-defense.
Yeah.
So that's what was going on with our lives during that time, because they didn't understand us and we didn't understand them. So it was a disconnect. It was a big disconnect.
I think the one thing we've got to factor in though is a variable storm, in that sometimes it's not about whether or not the parents want to expose their child to that. Sometimes it's about, it just so happens that they grow up in an area where there are not many people with physical.
It's true as well.
I'll give you an example. My nephew, when he was very, very young, I started living with my brother and his wife and my nephew when he was probably almost 10 months old. By the time he was 3 or 4 and going to like kindergarten, he thought, kids with disabilities were completely normal. He'd choose to play with the kid that had, autism or an intellectual disability or who was deaf, because he associated that as normal because I was around. But a lot of kids, unfortunately, don't get that luxury.
No, they don't. They don't.
Guys, I understand where you're coming from. I personally had my disability from the age of 29, so I was an adult, and so I can only see from an adult's point of view, and it's hard, and it comes down to adults. They don't really, unless they understand the disability, they don't really give you the time of day. And the community, and it's all about education as well, and teaching them what disability is.
I also found trusting people was a really, really hard thing when I'm doing friendships when I was younger. Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, are they just there to make fun of me, or what do they actually want? Because after when they get what they want, they just leave you anyway. Or they'll just make fun of you when they've done the dare or some sort of silly thing that the other friends have told them.
And do you know what I always found to be a big issue throughout my life with certain people, Storm? I used to find that I would be, to some degree, I guess, used or exploited because I'm an easy target, you know.
Yep.
Easy to, at a certain, there was a certain point in my life, even into my early 20s, where I was young and I was stupid, and people could manipulate me if they wanted to play, and they could play on the things that I needed. So if I needed companionship, it was always, if I can get, you know, something out of you. It's kind of like shaking the
That's
penny
exactly
bank,
what happened to me.
money falls out. And I learned to associate, well, if I buy, you know, this person something, they'll hang around for longer and they'll want to be my friend for longer, you know? And that's a really unhealthy thing to do.
It is. But at the same time, we just wanted people to talk to. I'll totally understand why we went through that process. Is it right? No, it's not right. But in terms of our well-being and our health, we need to do some stuff like that to try to be ourselves. So
exactly. And I think at the end of the day, we all, you know, just want friendships like anyone else with no strings attached, really.
Yeah, and you want friends to see past your disability. That's the other issue. And then finding those people that have got that clear head to understand that the disability is a part of your life, and if they want your friendship, they're going to have to deal with the disability as well.
What do you think can be done to help people with disability, to facilitate the friendship, to help disabled people to connect with more people, to...
Oh, that's a tough one.
I think personally, rather than create, you know, like I think it was I don't know if Storm would remember, but Catherine mentioned a disability ball or some kind of dating service.
Yes, that was
I actually think that what they need to do is, rather than, you know, highlight the disability, they need to create events where it's just treated as normal and not kind of advertised.
Yeah, no, that's good. In my area, Brain Injury Matters, the company I work with, we're running 6 peer groups around Victoria, and each peer group, which is like an area like east, south, west, north, and we have a group of people with brain injuries. We get together every week for a coffee and have a chat about something about their injury. And in my group, I've got 2 groups. I mean, and we just become such close friends because we understand we've all got our issues and we talk about problems, similar problems that we've had.
Yeah.
So like today I hosted a session on passions, and we talked about the passions that we have, and everyone went through the different passions they have and why they have it. And we just talk about general stuff, and it's a really way we can be together and meet people with the same injuries and disabilities. And it's not just our disability, we all get along, and yeah, it's friendships at its best.
For me, it was more of, I don't need to facilitate, I just need to do it myself. If no one else is going to approach me to be their friend, I'm going to do it myself. And I'm going to pick the one that I think that's going to be good friends with me. Because once I found out that this certain person had the same interests as me, I just had to have the guts and the willpower to talk to him. And then that's how we became friends, because I made the approach. So it's not just about facilitating, it's about the disability person making that first move sometimes to actually do something. It shouldn't be up to the able-bodied person to do everything, because no one can read your mind and no one can hold your hand and do things in life all the time. You have to take the initiative and just do it.
Yeah. And I think absolutely.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest things when it comes to relationships and friendships that I've learned, and I'll say this with the disclaimer, I am in no way ashamed of my disability, but the one thing that I learned was to try and get people past my disability was in my dating profile, I'd never mention it, because that way the person had to get to know me for me, and then by the time they learned about my disability, it would show me whether they wanted to hang around despite my disability or whether they treat me any different.
Yeah.
This was very interesting discussion, but we need to wrap up. So thank you everyone for joining us in this podcast today. We hope you enjoyed this discussion and see you next time.
Thank you, Tom.
Enjoy, everybody,
Bye-bye.
and stay safe.
Thank you from Speakers Bank.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.